Wait, are we live? I think we're live. We are alive. What? Yes, thank you. Yeah, if you guys can hear me, let me know. I know the lighting's not the best. This isn't the best. This is very ad hoc. What can I say? I tend to work on the actual writing aspect before I work on the video aspect and all that stuff. I know what's important. You know what's important? Anyway, we're no. It has been so long since I've streamed or done anything on video. I don't know how you guys are doing. If you don't know who I am, you just noticed me on Social Galactic, whatever, or on Arkhaven. I go by Robin Grizzly. It's just a pen name. You can figure out who I really am one day, I'm sure. I write a bunch of books. Did a Sunday school for a while. Based it a lot off of Dr. Heiser's work, the late Dr. Heiser. I gotta look up. Pretty sure he's dead now. And yeah, got kicked out of the Sunday school, and God's been working on my heart ever since to just get that stuff out there for whoever is interested. I don't know if I should mess around for a while and let anybody else come in or just get right into it. I sort of figure that most people will just either come in later, watch it afterwards, or as things get more interesting. But this is sort of an announcement stream. I'm excited for it. We're calling it the Warrior's Path. I adapted than what we were teaching to. It just sort of it out. You might also hear all these bangs and noises in the background. Those are my children who are allegedly in bed. Allegedly. They will sleep eventually. Till then, you will have lovely noises and my wife snickering at me from off camera as she's bouncing a baby. Anyway, oh, hey, look, there's an arm. It's a woman with a baby. Who could that be? Could it be Mrs. Grizzly? Hey. Anyway, so this stream, I'll go through the whole story. I don't know. I think I talked about it on Social Galactic. I don't know if we ever streamed about it.
We never streamed about it.
Yeah. So, I figure this will be more of a people read it and get interested, they'll probably come back to this video to figure out what it's all about. So, my wife comes back to distract me once more. They can see your shadow, wife. I don't know if you know that. You creeping in the corner. Murder. 5 foes. I'm not quoting Lord of the Rings. You are. Anyway, so trying to get my thoughts in order. We'll just I hear from people that I'm supposed to dink around for a while or set up something to let people get in the stream. But that's probably for people who've been streaming a long time and have people coming in, So we're gonna just get into it. You guys can let me know if you want me to start over or something. But what kind of started with this was 4 years ago now. Yeah, it was 4 years ago. We got a message from one of my wife's friends who was teaching a Sunday school out at a Presbyterian church in Missouri.
My wife's
mother's friend, cousins, uncles, dogs,
Something there is a connection.
Anyway, she was no longer going to be able to teach the Sunday school. Looking for someone to replace it. We are not Presbyterian and never have been, but friends of a friend of a friend, and it's just one of those things. I was a missionary son growing up, so if you don't know anything about how the mission field works, if you're in a mission field, missionaries don't they'll care about
you become a sermon illustration for life.
You when you're in the States, denomination matters, and you generally stick within your church group. But when you're on the missions field, you're outnumbered, so you tend to just flock together no matter what they are. My neighbors were Catholic. They went to the same church we went to. My other neighbors were Baptists. Other neighbors were Nebulous Independents. And some were of denominations I can't quite pronounce. The lighting kind of shades my eyes in a funny way. I don't. Ooh. Those shady people.
It's very different compared to the lighting during the day.
Yeah.
You get that window.
I look so white. Very professional.
Quite surprised.
Anyway, so we got the message. So I explained why it didn't bother us that they were Presbyterian or whatever, and so we prayed and God said, "Yeah, go for it." So we went in. We had a very interesting conversation with the pastor and the main guy who would be above us. I think he was technically a deacon. Don't quote me on that.
He was supposed to be being
he was a leadership
minister's pastor.
He was a leadership role. He was like the number 2 guy that he didn't have quite an official title. Yeah. And, at the time we were having our 3rd baby. My wife was 4 or 5 months pregnant.
I was pregnant with our 3rd.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 months pregnant. Keep in mind, my oldest at that point was 3.
No.
3?
He was 2.
He was 2.
Because the second child
was
barely walking.
Right. And so they were very comfortable with the fact that we would be bringing our very small children into a class that was going to range.
We were literally going to be teaching that small class from babies till middle school.
Well, that's how it started. It was a little more than middle school. It went right into high school.
Into high school, yeah. High school. Grade.
Not that there was a ton of kids, right? It was one of those small. It was an affluent church, but there wasn't a ton of kids.
They had a whole bunch of classrooms full of stuff.
I don't want to speak really badly about them, though you might be surprised. I have every right to, given what happened, but I don't want to. But the best way I could describe that church was like a half-dead mausoleum. There was rooms upon rooms that were never used. There was an entire old section of church that was never used. The chapel was never full. They had so few kids. It was an ethnically Korean church. Was actually, I think, is the only reason why they were lasting as long as they were, is they had that ethnic kind of bond. Like people would be literally driving in like 2 hours away for church because they were just looking for other Koreans. And then they hire this white dude to do their Sunday school classes. White dude and the whitest chick ever in the middle of COVID. And that was an interesting situation. But
we were there before COVID hit too, which is crazy.
But we were going to do it for free too, but they insisted on paying us, which was very nice and appreciated at the time. And I'm rambling a little bit, but God said, yeah, go for it. And we did. We had to drive out of 30 or 40 minutes out of our town too, which was a lot for us with multiple kids and
small kids.
Traffic.
Were we going to be there on time? Were we going to be late?
That was rough. I don't like the late thing. But as it grew, we did a pretty good job. At first I was like wondering how long it would last to begin with, because I'm like, if you're on this YouTube channel, just go back to any other streams. You would understand where I'm coming from if you watch any of my most of my streams. I have a bit of a perspective, and most churchians can't handle it, and that's okay. Not okay for them, but that's fine.
That's their own problem.
The point is that as time went on, months turning to years, my kids growing in this church, and me looking around like, you guys are okay with what I'm teaching?
Nobody asked us
we're okay with this? No, we had a couple of parents sit in, and I just made a decision. God led me to it, where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to censor myself a little bit just because they're young kids and you don't want to like, demons are everywhere. They're turning the frogs gay. No, you don't want to do that to some little kids. But, I also felt like the older ones were getting into the world. They needed to know what they were facing. And we actually, towards the end, were dealing with some kids who had dabbled in some deep spiritual
and they had questions.
Yeah. And
so we decided to have discussions.
And I can guarantee you, no one in their life gave them a succinct conversation about what demons were and how you deal with them, and why maybe using a Ouija board isn't that good of an idea.
Or going to questionable certain
Mm-hmm.
museum / house thing
By themselves or with their
their
age group. Oh,
yeah.
okay, dude. Like the things that younger kids get into these days, shock. That's not a generational attack. That's if it is, it's on their parents
Well,
for
my
giving
parent-
them
my
no
mom-
defense against evil whatsoever. I hate it. I'm getting into the weeds, but if I didn't get in the weeds, we'd be done in 5 minutes, and that's hardly a stream. And so, yeah, we started teaching. I got into a lot of the Dr. Heiser stuff. I got into just the Bible for what it was. I purposely chose stories that I knew they would never hear about. Shockingly found out that they didn't even know the stories. Like these kids have been in Bible school, some of them for like 12 years. They had I know because they had all their art projects and stuff on the wall going back ages. They didn't know the plagues. They didn't know the Moses story. They didn't know Joshua. But they kind of knew about Genesis, but hardly. And it was so shocking the lack of knowledge they had on the actual Bible stuff. We found out, we're still kind of friends with the lady before, but she did a lot of life lessons.
Over a verse,
and
maybe saying a couple songs,
like one verse out of context, then getting into life
lessons. I mean,
but you can't a Sunday school, especially for young kids, needs to be about the Bible itself. And I've actually kind of done my best to translate to that. You don't know how tempting it is to bring the Book of Enoch into some of this, but one of the things too, I highly recommend you guys. I'm not saying I'm just parroting Dr. Heiser, but a lot of it does come. He helped when I read his book, this Unseen Realm. Yeah, that was the one. It opened my eyes to a lot of the Bible, and I reread. And I've added stuff and gone and adapted it as best I could to younger people. And now I have adapted it to teenagers, to young men, to new converts. But we'll get into why I did that as we go. But right, I found a distinct lack of knowledge, and then I was giving them stories like Ehud, for example, which I know a lot of people Ehud. What's that? Well, funny enough, he was an assassin who was a judge who stabbed a fat man with a sword so hard that the sword disappeared inside the man's gut. And I made it a whole game with them. And there was this whole theme where we would just talk about whenever there was gore in the Bible, stabbity, stab, stab. Kids loved it. It was great. And in that way, we were able to explore every aspect of the Bible and not skipping the stuff that most Sunday school students. I'm not laughing at my children struggling against my wife about going to bed at 10:20. Come on, we put them to bed way earlier than that. But kids will be kids. Only on the night you want to stream do they stay up ridiculously hard and long. Oh yeah,
way back when.
If you guys go back to our old streams, God, there's 200 videos, babe. 200 streams on this channel. I can't believe we did so many. I don't know if any of you OG guys are here. You guys who are there are awesome, and you guys who are new are awesome. I just, man, I do apologize that we stopped streaming, but life just got too busy for me to even consider it.
Mindset. We had to learn things. Be willing to learn, get through things.
I have no idea if you can hear my wife. I'm just nodding. I hope you could hear it. Basically, she was saying we had to go for a lot of spiritual attacks and growth for this time period, and a lot of uncomfortable lessons about our families that, that's streamed for another day. The main thing is we do, I feel bad about it, but once you have 4 kids under 4 in the same house, full-time job, trying to write multiple books, not go insane as COVID's going on. And
don't mind me, I'm just,
And then, your wife is all cute in the background over there. She's mine. Don't look at her. No, wait, that's the wrong hand. Excuse me. No. You realize you only have time for so much. But you know what? And God's made it clear to me that this is more what I need to do. Excuse my. Yes, it's lovely. Okay. No, I see, by the way, is my child in the background, like falling on the couch. Hilarious. But let me get back to the story, right? The story you guys came for, I think. Yeah. Streaming's about tangents, right? I like tangents. Well, we started teaching for a long while. We had no complaints. Not one complaint for 3 years. It was 3 years. Like, to give you guys some context, we had some friends in that church. They had some intimacy. They threw us a baby shower for my first daughter, my only daughter. They gave wild presents to my kids. They threw birthday parties for them without us asking. They just did it.
Christmas things,
very very nice stuff. Yeah, we went to the pastor's
son's wedding rehearsal.
Rehearsal
No,
thing.
not rehearsal.
What was the thing after
Reception.
that? Reception. We got to know his son pretty good and his girlfriend, and
the other son.
Yeah, a different son, and we actually, through him interacting with me and my wife, I'm not patting ourselves on the back. They actually got engaged. They saw what marriage life was, and we encouraged them to get married, and they got engaged. Did they get married?
They're still
I don't know.
Who knows?
I hate the endless engagements. I'm not saying they weren't serious, but there was not as many people encouraging them and giving them what it could look like,
Well, and they really liked their kids too.
That's true.
She was at the point where she was thinking and considering about, they kind of want kids too.
Yeah. I mean, two of my kids learned to walk in that church. Yeah. Big growth. I mean, a big growth for these kind of tiny places, right? When you have like 5 to 10 kids a class, or more like it started as like 5 kids, it jumped to like 12 there, almost 18, and then it shrank back down to like 5 to 10.
And we split it
because of a lot of personal life within the families. There was divorces and crazy stuff going down. I don't want to get into that. That was a nightmare that I looked at. I was like, holy crap.
Interracial.
Oh, you don't want to know about that. That was some of the weirdest divorce thing. And I've been around some of that. Not personally, like, not in my family, but friends around us.
Of the family,
Weird things happen on the mission field too, folks. You don't want to know. But anyway, I crafted these curriculums for this class. Because if you don't know, as a missionary son, and if you pay attention, you basically go through theological courses. Because my church was where all the missionaries and the pastors who went for those courses and got their doctorate or all that stuff, where they went to kind of impress each other. Like, think about it. The sermon that you make for a group, just normal believers, is different than the sermon you make for a group of pastors and your fellow pastors and your fellow friends. You're going to go a little deeper. You're going to go a little different. You're going to expect more. You're going to be pushed a little because they've heard all of it, right? You're going to, and that's what was my Sunday, every Sunday back in Nicaragua, because my church was literally the church where all the missionaries who had all those degrees and all those theological things, and in our denomination, a funky little staff and a weird slash they put on them. It's kind of fun.
Every time you get it,
it's kind of fun. It's a little weird, but now the domination is on downhill hardcore. But I could kind of roll with giving these funky staffs to like the pastors when they get their, whatever they call it these days.
Ordination.
Yeah, or ordination. They get this fun blue sash and then this cane, this gnarled, like, I'm gonna get those sheep, man. I want one of them to bring that cane into a denomination and just start smacking people around who they think needs to. Come on. It's fuck. That's why they would never let me in that. As much as my dad.
What do you mean no more free coffee? I got paid for this?
Flipping all the tables. You gave me this cane for a reason. Anyway, my dad always wanted to be a pastor as a result of a lot of this, but God clearly told me no, or at least not in the way he wanted. But long story. You don't need to know everything about me. Just know that's where I'm coming from. I don't have any formal training, but I've been all around all the people with formal training, and I've judged all of you, every single one of you. I know all your styles. I know what you talk about. The Catholics spoke even once. I've been picking up more on that, figuring out exactly what you people are all about. The missionaries are different than the lay people, though. It's very fascinating when you find the differences.
I remember the Pentecostal church / Baptist church. Pentecostals are in the front, Baptists are in the back, or sometimes
it'll flip-flop sometimes. And then like the
but
kids.
That didn't happen so much later to like my first year of college or the end of my senior year in high school. Before then, I was just at the Thai local churches. And I followed, but I didn't know anything.
Anyway, I'm gonna get to my analogy here, and they're like the kids are like all intermingling because they have no idea what the problem is. So like, hey, I like that guy. I don't like that guy. And they're like running around like nut jobs. That was us. It was a good time. And then later I found out, oh yeah, you guys were those weirdos. You believe this stuff over here? It was a good time. Oh man, but I keep getting caught up in the story. I know that I need to explain a little bit of where I'm coming from, but I also want to point out I'm not the best Christian in the world. I'm not a crazy pastor. I'm not some guy with a cane on a stage being ordained by people who.
Well, now they give those women little cane.
Well, I was
start running for the.
I was going to say, they got their theological degrees from those lesbians and Jews and whatnot, right? I was trying to actually downplay myself, but I seem to actually have been puffing myself up by accident. I avoided all of that, but I still got all the education from it because I listened to all the sermons that those people were saying to impress each other.
Here's the funny thing: they don't assume you as kids listening, but we're actually listening.
I don't know.
Gang signs.
Oh yeah, it's a warrior's path, man. Nothing better than like a white guy pastor trying to make his curriculum look cool. Ooh, yeah. Pew pew. I'm just gonna have fun. You got poo poo. Woo! Welcome. Yes, my sons have decided to get out of going to bed sometimes, that they are going to hold it and then let it go about 30 minutes or to an hour after they've gone to bed. Ooh, sneaky. Anyway, so, gosh, I'm using my wife's computer and it's doing things. Back to the story. Hi, little lady. My daughter's peeking at me above the couch right now. Anyway, so back to where were we? So all these things happen. We grow close to a bunch of them. COVID ends. Things, so a bunch of the kids end up going to Korea for the summer, and a lot of their parents go with them. We were starting to get numbers again. Again, I wasn't too worried about the numbers. I was just trying to, I was there for the kids. It was just what it was. We were going to do it for free, but we were in financial straits. So when they offered money, we took it. And
they insisted.
They were very insistent.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we're right. And I admit we got kind of dependent on it because things got expensive for COVID. And suddenly,
also your work.
My work, yeah. Don't get me started on my work. Started claiming more of my time, but paying me less money. It was a lovely situation.
Not just that. They wanted me to drive you to work while I was pregnant on a very high risk pregnancy.
Okay, well, and it was
that's towards the end.
And I know it's funny. Like she drives me to work now a lot of times, but it was more.
I'm not pregnant though.
Well, and it was more than that. It was a bad part of town and they'd have to come at night, and there was no reason why. There was some.
They were letting me to the point where you're so tired you can't even drive sometimes.
Well, okay, that's normal for delivery drivers, but yes, it was too much. Wife's giving me that look. It's like, yes, it was dangerous. Like there's a level that anyone who has been in the transportation, we've all been there.
Let me just say.
But they got to the point where they lost several people they took on too much business.
They kept hiring and then not firing, and then firing, and then
well, they lost people because they were bad managers. Well, who would have thought, right? Bad managers drive good employees away, and so guys like me had to pick up the slack
and
for
then
the bad
desperate
managers.
Employees weren't very good.
The point is that was putting on a lot of stress on me as well in the background.
Hence, one car down.
Yeah, I ended up getting in a car wreck as a result. Luckily, I wasn't hurt. But anyway, all that aside, it came to a head where my boss crossed the line.
Several.
And after a lot of prayer, I quit my job, but I didn't have any process. But God told me, you're going to quit your job. I'm like, I am, huh? After this? And I realized he'd actually been telling me to quit my job for several months, but I was too scared to do it. That was a crazy time. I can't believe to this day that I went down the way it did. But God was trying to get my attention, and I did do it. Scary time. And the church money, though, was not that much. It was enough that we were able to scratch by, along with some tax return and some stuff for a long time. And so being jobless, not able to find a job quickly, by the way, just I'm sorry, I'm being distracted. Kids everywhere. So that's when out of nowhere one day I get a text message from the pastor saying that they needed to have a meeting with me about what I'd been teaching in Sunday school. Yeah. Keep in mind,
like after 3 years.
This is after 3 years.
This is the height of when we were talking about spiritual warfare.
This was when we were talking about spiritual warfare.
And we had new kid coming in who had so many questions and bad experiences too.
Bad demonic experiences, we should say. And there was an unhealthy amount of interest in the dark side of things amongst several of the students, and most of them were girls, which, it's bad in any situation. Like, don't get me wrong, I have a morbid curiosity sometimes of ghost hunts and all the rest, but there's a certain danger there. Like, I've stopped researching that stuff at night because it's allowed too many things in. It's funny. I had spiritual encounters, but never like physical manifestations until I started dating my wife.
Thanks.
Yeah. There was something that did not want us to marry and definitely didn't want us to have kids. It was very fascinating.
Yeah, my ex-sister was like,
she was probably a witch. 98% sure she was a witch.
99.5.
She was, we'll just say she was a witch. And my sister is now a witch. Don't get me started about that. And anyway, I started dating her long distance, and I had a shadow being fly past my head one day, late at night, like it's probably like 2 a.m. almost. It's the craziest shit I'd ever seen. And again, right, I'd been on the missions field. My dad had been attacked by all kinds of crap out there, but had never come home. We'd had a lot of prayer over us. I'd learned a lot through that. But the point is, I take that stuff much more seriously now. So when these young girls were getting interested, I was like, okay, we're going to have to face this head on. And I knew how to do it. Like, you can't just say, "Oh, lady, you couldn't do any of that." No. Because they're teenagers. They're like, this is fun to research. This is what we want to look at. This is what I'm interested in, bro. Yeah, and there's like a part of them that goes, now I want it to happen. Now that you said that it's worry, right? Is it actually going to happen? Real, all the rest. And and so the only way I could think about to do it was to face it head on, share ghost stories, but aspects of them that pointed them to God. For example, I share a story about a lighthouse off the coast of France.
I hate that story.
Hey, but God won in that one in the end.
I know.
Right. Just I won't share it now because it's dark outside. You don't.
We actually talked about it on stream here before.
Yeah, and you can probably find it in the streaming fast. But basically, it ended with a priest having to consecrate the entire thing and put crosses up, and then suddenly all the activity ceased. All the weird stuff that was driving people insane on the island, and then they honored the lighthouse. So who knows? Point is, I was able to use that story to get their interest, but B, push them towards God,
And also
and give them
about dominion over land and stuff.
Which we'll get a little bit into that, why that's important in the actual lessons. It'll help a lot of you young guys who are starting to have families too, because it's really important when you're getting a house, especially if you're owning a house, about consecrating land. We'll get into it. Okay, Naaman comes up, the guy who wants dirt. It's great. You'll love it. Anyway, right, back to it. So I got that, and it wasn't even a call, right? It was just a text message saying, "Hey, we need to have a meeting about it." And I'd already decided in my head if this ever came up, but I was going to be respectful about what their parents wanted me to teach. I'd still be true to it as best I can, but I'd be respectful. It's their kids.
One of the kids. This is like after one of the kids' parents went on the board.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I'll get into that in a second. Right. That was going to be my perspective. I have respect for the fact that they are the parents. I wasn't going to teach them anything they didn't want me to teach, but I was going to let God show me how much I could give, right? But they set the time for the meeting. I was like, okay, we'll handle it. I put space aside in my schedule and everything. I was jobless at the time, but I was writing 4 books and releasing them up on Arkhaven as much as I could. And got to get back on those projects and finish them up if any of you are reading that. But so before I even get to the meeting, I think it was the next day, maybe 2 days afterwards, I believe they sent me this message Sunday afternoon after church.
We're going to talk with you guys.
Yeah. And then and again, it wasn't like a really harsh thing. It was just we need you guys are teaching what we want taught in class. I'm like, okay, we probably should have had that meeting like when I started. Right? But when I started, they told me I could just do what I wanted, essentially. So I took them at their word. I kept expecting that meeting like every month that I was teaching there. I kept expecting that. And it never happened. Until finally I stopped expecting it. And then 3 years later, then it pops up. But before I have the meeting, I get an email. Oh, this is what I messed up. I messed up. Excuse me, guys.
They had it Sunday morning.
Right. No, the number 2 guy, right, one of the guys who hired me, brought me aside and said they wanted to have a meeting about what was being taught in class. I'm like, oh, okay, we could do that. No, that was you hear me out. You'll see. Right. That was why we're at church. I know. As I was talking about it, I remembered it better. It's been a while. We haven't talked about this story in a long time. It'll come to you as I talk, right? And I went, okay. And we set up the meeting. And then it was set up for Wednesday. It was set up for like the next Sunday or something. And that Wednesday, the church had a meeting without us, without telling us it was going to happen too, I might add. I only knew about it because I overheard them talking about, oh, hey, we're going to have a meeting on Wednesday night. Thursday morning, I get a text from the pastor. And he informs me that we're being let go, that they're going to go in a different direction, and that to come in on Sunday to say goodbye to the kids.
Sunday morning.
Say goodbye to the kids. I didn't even get that meeting. At this point, they still hadn't told me, and they never did, by the way, tell me what I did wrong or why they were letting me go. Confusing, to say the least. Man, is anyone still here?
Remember, we get shadow banned because
that's true. That's what I was curious about. Hey, if you guys are still there but you don't want to talk, just like put a 1 in chat or something.
Did you allow people to chat on here?
Yeah, I did. I did that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no worries. Anyway, people will rewatch it if they're curious.
It is kind of late. So.
You're late. Anyway, so
The meeting.
right, we
On Sunday morning.
no. Remember, with Thursday we get the text
Yeah,
message.
I heard that, but now we're on Sunday.
Right. Hey, I was gonna get into a little bit of the emotions of oh my gosh,
sorry.
I'm fired. I never got even told why, and I was never given an opportunity to change what was wrong or face the people accusing me or even know what they were accusing me of doing. And as my wife said, there was a parent who had just risen to the board who had a couple very nice young teenage girls who we were respectfully but actively encouraging to not go the cat lady route and saying, he wanted them to become
a
doctors. And we were saying, hey, why don't you marry a doctor instead?
What was so funny is like what happened was one of the daughters saw like our kids and everything about what seeing through example of being a mother looks like. And she's like, I want to have one kid. I want to have a kid,
Yep.
And then a tone switched saying, but my dad wants me to be a doctor.
But you're talking real quiet. I don't know if they heard that.
Oh, but my dad wants me to be a doctor. And
not her dad, the teenager.
And then I'm like, well, why don't you just marry a doctor? I mean, it's a doctor in the family. Just marry him.
Yeah.
But no.
There wasn't a doctor in the family that she was married.
No, what I'm saying.
Bring a doctor in the family.
Thank you for translation.
And yes, she was a nice enough looking girl that she could have easily had any guy she wanted. She worked it out right. Yes, especially now that I'm not there anymore. That dude was actively ruining his daughter's life. Both of them. To be honest. Multiple vaccines, multiple shots.
Yeah.
He's pushing them down the cat lady route and down a field where they're not going to have very many options for marriage. And I could tell neither of them, at most, I could see maybe one of them do a pediatrician route or something, but they weren't doctor material. It was not for them. And even if they were smart enough to handle it, they wouldn't be able to handle the blood and guts or the constant interactions.
The other sister was like, yeah, that's kind of giving up, pushing me down that road.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder why. Good.
And it also kind of pointed out, though, that was sad because it was like he gave up on her.
Not, you know what? Yeah.
He like was less interested in her after that. That favoritism.
It's weird.
I don't want to get too much into it, but I wanted to highlight that. We kind of suspect that it was that because those girls were becoming more bold about
and
what we were
it was
saying.
Interesting because one sister would not be there
for
a long period of time, and
that was the one
that was really interested in motherhood and about parenting and becoming a parent and everything. And it's like,
but who knows? It also would have been all that talk about demons and stuff.
Either or. Either or.
And yeah. So I was at least at this point hoping we'd find out exactly what the problem was. We had her aunt watch the kids for us. Sorry, we're distracted. Baby who's not going to sleep at 10:40 at night. Baby. Anyway, so we got there and it was the strangest experience of my life. We were sat down by the number 2 guy. They brought all the kids together.
He said it in front of the kids too. Still not giving me any reason. Acting as if we knew the reason too.
And basically said, "Oh, I'm going to teach your class today." Blah blah blah. They didn't even let me teach the last Sunday school class. They cut us out of these kids' lives.
They're like here, say goodbye, and that's it.
And the crazy thing was, we were also kicked out of the church. Like I had stayed around.
They showed us the door.
Basically.
Literally.
Not only were we kicked out of the Sunday school, we were kicked out of the church. Like we hung out for a little bit.
We were gathering things because I think
we were getting our we had the baby.
We had the baby.
We were
little girl with a.
And when we dallied a little bit, they like hinted at,
You gotta go now because we're gonna go upstairs now. We're gonna go
you
in
need
this
to
room
bathe.
over here.
You
now.
can stay
Why
here.
are you telling us which room you're gonna go in?
And basically, he said you can get your baby sorted, and then you need to leave. We were kicked out of the church too. I can only assume that's what the meeting was on Wednesday.
Was a vote? They said
Yeah.
a vote, but.
And keep in mind, a lot of our friends. Remember when I said a lot of the kids went to Korea for the summer? A lot of our friends went as well. Like their parents, who we were friends with, went. Who would have been votes in our favor in any vote like that, were not there. So they waited for those people to leave briefly, right? Remember, they're just doing a summer vacation thing. And then they do the vote to get rid of us. Yeah. Welcome to the modern church, everybody. And again, I still don't know what it was. Was it to talk about
the pastor
multiple?
Couldn't even look at you.
Yeah, like, the pastor ran away.
He
from
ran
me.
away from both of us.
There was this little Korean dude scurrying away from me as hard as he could.
And he'll kind of look back and like be shaking.
Like,
what?
Dude, I
am
a bearded white dude, but I'm not that big. Maybe around my middle, but I'm not that big. My
Little
wife is tiny.
Little do they know that you're the nice one.
It's true. My wife is Ukrainian. Kozak. She may rip someone's face off. So, yeah. After that, things got really, really hard financially. I'm not going to lie. And it came to me, like, God was using this as a testing time. Basically, he used it as a way us problems in our family. That might be a later stream.
Yeah. But
highlighted problems in our family that we really had to face that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. And it was very much tied to finances.
I gotta say though.
But hey, Kratzman, if you're on here from Social Galactic, thanks for the encouragement, man. I never forgot it. I was just so overwhelmed by all the stress. There was no way I could write it.
Stress from family, especially having a newborn with no
income at all.
And I do thank the SG people.
You guys were awesome.
When that happened, like
that was amazing. Thank you. And yeah, and Kiyosaki Bear was very, very helpful. Offered us a job and very generous. Got us moved down
went
here.
Above and beyond it,
Yeah. So if you're on here at any point, thanks, man. But yeah, it's been a pause for a while. But I'm thinking what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna release the lesson on Sunday, every Sunday, and then we'll have a stream discussing it and going through it every Monday. So you're gonna read through it yourself on Sunday. Then Monday, you can have any questions you want from me, and I'll go through the lesson and kind of give you an idea of how I would imagine it would go down.
And now, I won't be as talkative.
You can be as talkative as you want. I'll just, push you out of the room if I need to. But, right. I have adapted it because, again, most of the kids were teenage girls, especially by the end. I've adapted it.
The boys, there's no proof.
Yeah, it was hard. Like we tried to invest in some of the boys, but like they were poisoned by like the ADHD drugs, and then like the
mom actually, when noticed that I was hinting to her that she was the issue and not the kid, she literally just took the kid and left church.
And we never saw her again.
She never came back.
No, I mean that was even harsher. Like all she did was the lady like came up to her and went, "Oh, it's so hard," because the kid was acting up, and it was clearly the drugs making him act up because he was a completely different person.
Patterns in these drugs, and I assumed they're probably similar to what I've personally been on.
Yeah.
In my childhood, to see the pattern, and I'm like,
You didn't even need that. Like I saw.
You didn't even need that. No,
I saw it
too. It was very obvious.
He was completely a different person.
Completely a total turnaround.
Now, I won't tell you that he was an easy kid to work with without the drugs either, but he was way worse with the drugs. I don't know what that lady was on, but the drugs made him so much harder.
She was on her third marriage.
Yeah, baby says, yeah. Anyway, so that's why it was mostly teenage girls by the end. And again, right, a 3-year period, all the middle schoolers were in high school. The elementary kids were in middle school. 3 years sounds like a lot and also not a lot, but in kid terms, 3 years is a long time. And keep in mind, the way the school system works, you only have like a teacher for 1 year at most, like 2 semesters, right? The way these public schools work. They had me for 3 solid years. They had my wife for 3 solid years. They probably had a bigger bond with us than their teachers at school as a result. And they didn't have any time to say goodbye. Their parents and the church basically
turn around and say bye and leave.
Yeah, and they were never given any opportunity to see us again. And again, we never got to find out why. Those kids were really mad.
They were so mad. You could hear it upstairs.
They were not happy with how it went down. I can't blame them. Anyway, God's finally gotten me to a position where I can write it out. And I did adapt it. Some of it because I see a need for young men a lot. Gen Z are a little older now, I think. It might be Gen Z. Whatever the guys who are getting into their 20s, like 18 to 20, a little older than that. And they don't have a solid structure for the narrative that is in the Bible. And or
the narrative's been so watered down.
And I found out that, because those kids had so little knowledge of the Bible, I created a course that kind of taught you that narrative in an overview while giving some key points like some spiritual protections and all that along the way, because I had to kind of laser in on a lot of that stuff as it came up. And I found that it was an easy adaptation to men, and men right now need this. Now, why men instead of maybe teenagers or something? Because right now, young men are the ones deciding if they're going to get married or not. They're the ones deciding if they're going to be Christian and if they're going to lead their girlfriends and fiancés towards Christianity, or find godly women, or push women to be godly. And there's just an immense need for those guys to have some foundation of faith, because there are so many pitfalls, so many liars all around them, all throughout the internet. And come on, guys, you even Vox Day, right, was a libertarian at one point. There's so many pitfalls for everybody. There's so many layers of lies just waiting for you to have some kind of pull in that direction. In the Screw Tape Letters, C.S. Lewis put it best when he was showing how when a demon loses the fight and you become a Christian, their next goal is to make you a useless Christian, as useless as possible. And so they throw all these lies, all these different guru ideas, all these concepts in your face, trying to water down your Christianity or push you in a specific direction that will make you less useful. And I want to help young men get through that. And the reason why I want to start with young men with this, and I feel called by God to do this, is because you get young men at that point when they're having families, then they establish a foundation in their home that leads to families and more kids that are on the right path. You get men at that point, you get them set and with a strong foundation. Well, guess what? Their families are all going to go in that direction. So the idea for now is I want to do a nice curriculum for young men, a couple semesters at least. It's also going to be really good for converts. If you're a bit older, but you're really new to Christianity, it's going to be a great overview of the Bible, of some solid stories you need to know, solid verses, concepts, things the churchians won't look at, all that kind of stuff. With a goal of giving the narrative of the Bible, the story that God's telling through everything. So in that way, we're kind of going macro. I don't have a lot of time to spend on a lot of individual stories, but I figure I can, we got time, baby. You guys still like this stuff? I can always write more. We can do concentrated studies on judges or kings or all kinds of fun things. Sorry, my kids are too cute and they're distracting. But yeah, the first lesson is going to be All primordial, baby. We're going all the way back to Genesis in the beginning. It's a good time. I get caught up with this story all the time. If you've read any of Dr. Heiser's work, it's some of the most exciting passages talking about Genesis. I know some of you who've been in the church a lot are like glazing over just thinking about it. Another Genesis 1. No. Trust me. It's going to be more interesting. You're over here. It's going to be way more interesting than that. Don't worry. It's a lot more fun. And yeah, remember, we'll do our best to stream around 10 p.m. Mondays. It'll all depend on how well the boys go to sleep. I have Mondays off every day, so that shouldn't be an issue. And yeah, I also plan on, I think, starting a Substack that's just for this, so you guys can I might do some articles and stuff, and you can comment and interact with me a little bit in between, and we can talk about some stuff that I don't have the time to talk about in the Sunday lessons. Like some of those got a little long. Like I'm like, oh my god, this is 2,000 words with the verses. I'm trying to not do that to you, right? It's you gotta talk with less. And of course, if you want to go really, really deep about what we talk about, Dr. Heiser is a great source. There are other sources I'll get into and things and stuff I've dealt with, but he's a great foundation. He's not perfect. No one is. I'm not. But
I'm sure used him.
Yeah. All right. This is fun. I know some of you showed up. I got one like. I'll take that.
Well, I'll tell you.
Next time, one of you guys give me a comment so I can make fun of you or something. Look at his face. You want
That's a bald face.
Ooh, so shiny. Oh, yeah. Or anyway, I definitely. What have you done? One more time.
Give everybody.
I've lost so much hair. This is great. I'd rather I lose hair than her. This is good.
For the both of us,
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know at least one of you did. One. Hi, guys who are watching. I'm watching you. You should be ashamed of yourself. Anyway. Yeah. See you guys Monday. The intro course is up. I left the link in the description. I'll probably do a better description, maybe some analytical, some stuff. I'm not gonna go crazy with that. I'm kind of gonna let God handle it. I might do some sharing more and more. But you guys also let me know what you think.
We'll see where the Lord Jesus Christ leads us, because we follow him and he is who we serve.
Yep. Jesus Christ. Yeah. That's right. I witch test myself just for you. Anyway.
More like I witch test you.
You test the witch. Does she weigh as much as a duck? Oh, no. Yes, and you should kill her for it.
Have you ever seen a duck that's 95 pounds?
Does an ostrich count?
It's like a giraffe and a duck head of paper.
Oh, man. All right. We're going to sign off now because my children are crazy. And
yeah, I'm drinking wine.
Yes, it's true. She does. I'm sure there's streams where we talk about how we don't drink. God actually talked to us and informed us that we should drink a little.
A year ago.
And that sounds weird,
like,
God told you to drink. No, he told us it was acceptable
okay.
for us. Like, it wasn't something that we needed to worry about. And I'll be honest, as a man who didn't taste alcohol till he was 30.
Beers taste like piss. No
was it 30?
What?
Did I start drinking when I was 30?
No, you were 31.
31.
Forget that. 31.
Alcohol is severely overrated, you guys. You've been brainwashed. Your taste buds have been destroyed. Rum is pretty darn good. Beer generally does not taste good.
It tastes like raccoon piss.
Especially
Corona, but there is a certain beer.
Corona Light, specifically.
Corona Light. Okay.
That is
Viewers
raccoon
have
piss.
No taste buds.
Neither do Mexicans, apparently.
Piss in a bottle. No lime is going to change it. All right.
Apparently, I need to just get this girl some vodka,
that's
right?
fine. 38 is okay. It's still crap, but whatever. It's better crap than some crap. But the one you liked with the walnut wood taste to it.
That was good. That was the Oyster City Hooter Brown. That was interesting. I don't drink it very often for obvious reasons, but yeah.
Though,
wife mostly started drinking wine for health reasons, for her stomach, and It's done a lot. It's been great.
Digestion and constipation. It's really kind of balanced things out.
Well, if you could have just said digestion, you didn't need to out yourself that hard. Did you? Wait. Sometimes I have to help her censor herself. On that note, I think we'll move on. But yes, in case I think we probably talked
about what?
About alcohol in previous streams. So I thought I wanted to.
Yeah, we did.
We probably need to.
Drink, but you know.
Yep. So now we do in our 30s. Now that she's not getting pregnant anymore.
Well, that's fine. You do in your 30s. I'm gonna be.
Oh yeah. I robbed the cradle. I keep forgetting.
You did.
How about that shit? Oh yeah, and I still cuss. God hasn't bothered me about it yet, so yeah, maybe we'll have a conversation about that one day. Anyway, if you want to go to a Sunday school from a man who's been kicked out of 2 churches and one small group and a Sunday school class he was teaching, here you are.
Prayer meetings.
We are. Yeah. My wife got kicked out of prayer meetings. We are the rebels, baby. Like, it's funny. I've worked because when
the
you
difficult one.
I mean, not for the sake of being difficult,
but
like, yeah, it's really funny. Like, because I've been through some difficult job situations now. I work with less than scrupulous
there have been more people who've been kicked out of bars. And
well, no, like I had a coworker who was like, have you been to this church yet? I'm like, I don't know, I'm a little gun shy. I've been kicked out of a couple churches. He like looked at me. He's been regaling me with stories of his youth as he blew up mailboxes, got drunk out of his mind. He doesn't have a license anymore because of stuff. And he like looked at me and went, "You've been kicked out of 2 church, man. I've been kicked out of bars and this and that, out of jail one time. I've never been kicked out of church before." That's right. Dangerous, baby. Dangerous. Bearded wild man with the bald head. With lots of kids. And a beautiful wife. You want to get kicked out of church now, too. All right, guys.
You're going to leave it?
Yeah, you want to come to ours. It's not your grandma's Sunday school. Get kicked out of church today. You'll never be the same.
Aaron.
All right, guys. Subscribe for more, all that fun stuff. See you guys next week. First lessons, Sunday the 11th. All right? And the 12th, we'll do the stream, same time, 10 o'clock.
Hopefully.
Well, it'll be 10-ish.
10-ish.
If the kids don't cause me problems. I love those boys.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out of here.
They're wonderful.
See you guys next week.
You push the
to do it? Do I push the button? Right? Okay, I'll stop messing. Oh, shoot. It had a second button.